Welcome back. Well, today Princess Eugenie will take her long-term partner Jack Brooksbank's hand in marriage. But will she take his name? The princess has the choice to either keep her royal title or renounce it to become Mrs. Brooksbank. Even the royal family is embracing the modern times. The tradition of taking the man's name dates back centuries, when brides were simply traded through dowry, seen as property, sold to family. It's hard to imagine, isn't it? In 2018, more than 80% of Australian women will take their husband's name. And while most married women are happy to do so, most men are completely against adopting their wives' names. So, for today's agenda, we're asking, is taking your husband's name outdated? I'm joined by Shelley Horton from 9 Honey and social researcher Sophie Renton. Good morning, welcome to you both.
Good morning.
Shelley, let's start with you. You're a Horton, always have been, always will be.
That's right, I've been married twice. Imagine, I'd be up to my third name by now. So to me, it's not about love for your husband or respect for your family. It's about what suits you. Because these days, you know what? It's all about choice. And for me, I have been working as a journalist for 25 years, and I feel that if I had changed my name 3 times in that 25 years, it would have diluted the reputation that I had built for all of those years.
So that is essentially what it boiled down to.
Yeah.
It was your career.
Yeah, well, I had a friend who worked in the industry, and she did get married and changed her name. She had a contact who was a whistleblower on an asbestos case. He rang the station, didn't know her married name, and so then gave the story to someone else because he didn't trust giving it to someone he didn't know. And that was all because she changed her name.
How much of it, though, is also just about your sense of identity? You're as much Horton as you are Shelley.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think it's one of those things where if you have always been, in my case, Shelley Horton, it seems like a strange thing. It's like you've gone from Coke to being Pepsi. I just don't really understand it. And for me, it just doesn't have any of those old-fashioned traditions that hold true to me. So therefore, I'll do what suits me.
Sophie, where does Australia stand as far as this tradition goes? How do we compare to other countries?
Yeah, so the data shows that 4 in 5 Australian women are choosing to adopt their husband's surname when they marry. So the dominant approach is still the traditional approach in Australia. Yet there are some women who take the maiden name or hyphenate their name, and even some men take on the woman's name. But
that's very rare, though,
it's
isn't it?
very rare, and we are a little bit more conservative in Australia than other countries.
I would like to raise there, why are men saying it's so offensive for them to take the women's name? So I just think if they feel that it is a loss of identity or they're demasculated, what is that saying about a woman taking their name? So I think if you get down to those sort of brass tacks, then there is an issue with it.
Why do you think... I sense there's been a bit of a swing back. I reckon about 20, 30 years ago maybe there was a bit of an influx of women keeping their name, and it seems that we've swung back a little in the same way that I think men have stopped wearing wedding rings, I've noticed as well. I wonder if it's become... we've sort of become a little bit more conservative in recent times.
Yeah, well, Australians are fairly pragmatic in their approach to choosing a surname. 96% of children take on their father's surname, so it seems that tradition wins out to keep it simple for the child, and so the family have a shared identity of that same surname.
A lot of people have written in and said precisely that they wanted to have the same surname as their children.
But I would say that you can teach the kids that it's not about having the same name, it's about having the same heart and values and being a family unit. It's 2018. We can cope with different last names. Precisely.
And I'm living that. My children have a different surname to me, and it's personally never been a problem for them or for me, as far as I know. Sophie, how much of it comes down to, I'm going to say vanity, in terms of whether you like the name or not? You know, if your husband potentially has a name that you prefer to yours, or conversely has a name that you really don't like, does that play much of a role?
It could play a role, but some of it is that women are actually establishing or getting married later and have spent more time establishing their careers, so they have a career attached to their name, so it can be more of a challenge to give that name up and give up that career. So probably there is some vanity in it, but there's a lot of factors that come into the conversation as well.
We asked our viewers at home what they think, and Kirsten says, I'm officiating a wedding on Saturday where the husband is taking the bride's surname. It's the choice of the couple, and either way they should not be judged, as it's their decision, not society's. Angela says, it's not just about getting married and having the same surname as your husband, but also the same surname as your children. You are one family under the same name. Well, not necessarily. Vicky says, I did, but I probably wouldn't now, 35 years later. It was about the family being the same. Raises the question as well, why kids automatically take father's surname in many cases. Sophie, do you hear of many children taking on their mother's surname?
Well, as I said, 96% take on their father's surname, so that would maybe leave 4% that might take on their mother's surname.
And what's the rationale usually behind that?
Taking on the mother's surname, it could be to link to the mother, that continued shared identity, but the dominant approach is still definitely taking on the father's surname.
What about gay marriages? What happens when it's two guys getting married or two women getting married?
Yeah, well,
I mean, that's where
I think in most cases they keep their own, don't they?
Well, but isn't that just showing that traditions can change? We didn't have gay marriage, 5 years ago, so it'll be interesting to see how it affects the stats when we, have 10 years down the track, see who is adopting different names.
Tell me this, Shelley, when a woman you really like and admire gets married and takes on her husband's name, how does it make you feel about that woman?
It does have a little bit of a pang in my heart of going, why on earth did she do that?
But does it matter?
No, but then I actually go, you know what? She may not have liked her name, and as far as I'm concerned, it's not about judgment, it's about choice.
But does a part of you feel that she's sold out? She's not a real feminist?
Feminism is about choice and equality.
Yeah.
So therefore, you're not, a bra-burning feminist, and therefore, if you don't take your name, you need to hand in your card as a feminist. I don't think that works at all, and I think that goes against feminism. So,
but you fired up about it.
I do. Well, I do have that little bit of really? Have you thought about this? And also, my first marriage, I didn't think I was going to get divorced. I just think that you don't know what's going to happen. And so therefore, is changing your name, which is a really big deal. It's your brand. It's your identity. Is it really what you need to do?
Especially when you've got your signature sorted. That's not easy.
No.
So if you just quickly in closing, the next generation of women, do you feel this trend is going to continue?
Yeah, the next generation of women, they're an empowered generation. They're more likely to have a degree than their male counterparts. They are on the leadership pathways in the organisation, so they aren't feeling forced into this by traditionalism. They're making choices to choose to adopt their husband's surname.
And you're yet to marry, but in the event of marrying, what will you do?
I'll probably fall into the 4 and 5 Australian women who take the traditional approach and take on their husband's surname.
Because you like his name or because you like the tradition?
Both.
Well, that's okay.
There you go. Are we lucky we live in a world where we have choice and we can do what we want? Lovely to chat. Thanks, girls. Have a good weekend.
Thanks.
Carl.
It is all about the choice. Can I also applaud Shelley's choice in killer heels?
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Can we get a close-up of them?
Those things. Wow. She's got butterflies on them.
Yeah, I will be flapping away.
I thought you were going to say you might take off.
Is that
She's going to do that for sure.
They're weapons, no doubt about it.
Well, coming up, we meet the Aussie girl who was diagnosed.